Hello again, brothers and sisters. Thank you for dropping in, and hope you all get a blessing from this. This is Jodysephus coming again from somewhere within the heart of the good old USA. It's not difficult to see many similarities between the dual vision of Daniel chapters 8 and 11, but without knowing for sure they represent one another, it's kind of hard to really put one's heart and time into it, and that's understandably so. But there is a way to know for sure, though, and in doing so it presents more evidence in support of the switch chapters theory, in which Daniel's chapters 10 and 11 had somehow traded places with each other. In my last video, I explained the 8 different characters and events mentioned in chapters 10 and 11, and how it supplies all the beginning points of Revelations chapters 7 through 12. Or I take it back, 5 through 12. But Daniel chapter 10 can only be fully realized when chapters 10 and 11 have been switched, and chapter 12 is connected back to the tail end of chapter 10 like it was in the first place, making it just one longer chapter instead of the 2 like it is right now. Not only is chapters 10 and 12 to be reunited with each other, but chapters 9 and 11 need to be conjoined at the hips in the exact same way. Excuse me. Once you have made this vital connection between chapters 9 and 11, a very amazing story emerges that hadn't ever been fully understood before now, like right now. So listen carefully, because some things that have been a mystery up to this point is fixing to all make perfect sense for the very first time ever. The story is how you can know for certain that the dual vision in Daniel chapter 8 is not only repeated again in all of chapter 11, but chapter 11 also expands on it. Please use the King James Version for this study, okay? Daniel was given a dual prophetic vision in 3 through 14. The voice between the banks, Jesus told Gabriel in verse 16 to make sure that Daniel understood the vision. But by the time Daniel 8 came to a close, the very last line is saying that none understood it, and that would have to include Daniel himself, correct? So when Gabriel comes back and paid the prophet another visit several years later in chapter 9, the vision mentioned in chapter 23 could have only been referring to one thing, the vision from chapter 8 that Daniel never did fully understand. So here lies the problem. The matter is concerning Jesus' first and second coming during the 490 prophesied years, and the children of Israel, etc., and all that was mentioned in the following verses 24 through 27 in chapter 9. That was part of the matter, or the subject at hand. But what about the vision? Excuse me. Shouldn't it have been mentioned as well? It was actually, before the compartments were separated, making it what it is now. Chapters 9 and 11, once they've rejoined, it should remove all doubts that chapter 11 is indeed referring to chapter 8's vision. So anyone who studies end times prophecies should be comparing the 2 chapters like there is no tomorrow. Literally, all the errors in one chapter should be accountable in the other chapter, and vice versa, or it can't be right. So let's start the comparison and what I've gleaned from it so far. First, you got to understand that in Daniel 8:19, Gabriel told Daniel that he was going to fixing to tell him the end of the indignation era. But that end also had a beginning, and that was back over here in verses 3 through 5. halfway through 5 of chapter 8. That was what would be the beginning of the indignation era. And I'll talk about that later on. I'm not going to explain any of these. I'm just going to explain how they line up, and you can either come to your own conclusions, or we could talk that one over too. But anyway, so the explanation, or the understanding of it is over here in 11:6. It's also talking about that same era in time. It's at the time of the end. And all this in green is what was history. Talking about Alexander the Great, how they conquered the Persians in 333 BC, and so forth and so on, all the way down to verse 14, where it's supposed to be Antiochus Epiphanes, according to history, according to the Maccabean history anyhow. I'm going to go with that one, but really it doesn't matter the part about history, because the part about the future in Daniel is actually self-explanatory, and you don't really need to know it as long as you can make the separation. Because that in itself can be a big argument. But so anyway, so everything that was history there in the last part of half of verse 5 in chapter 8 through verse 9 and verse 9 through 14 was all talking about that what was history. But then when you get down here to 8:20 through 26, this is talking about the end of the indignation, like Gabriel told him it was going to be in there in verse 19 of chapter 8. Excuse me. And this is its equivalent over here in chapter 11, verses 36 through 45. So all these people, all these here, that was in verse 36 through 45 of chapter 11, can be found over here in verses 20 through 26 of chapter 8. That's how you'll know who all the players are. So anybody who's suggested anything else, it just... But anyway, keep in mind also that Daniel, in chapter 8, he was told to shut up the vision in verse 25, but it doesn't say how he did it. Well, if you take in mind the switched chapters, how Daniel's switched chapters 10 and 11 with each other, use that same theory there in chapter 8, and that's how he switched the two eras in time. He switched verses 3 through 5.5 with that through verse 14. He switched them two eras. So now, and that's the only way that you can really compare it with chapter 11, is because chapter 11, he never was told to do it, to shut up the vision. So you wouldn't see the switch there. So they would be in its right order there. So you got to go back to chapter 11, chapter 8, and switch them two eras back to where it matches with chapter 11. Then you'll have everything in perfect order. And that's how you have to figure the prophecy of Daniel, and that's another thing that the switch chapters will get you is this understanding right here. Okay, I guess that's enough for this one. But anyway, everything is history here. If you want to study this out, is in green, and everything in the future is still yet to be, and it's actually happening right now, it's in red. And I guess that's about it. But anyway, all this here stuff was shown to me, and I've studied it out for years, and it really does work out just this way. But study it out for yourself, folks. Do a Bible search, and you'll understand that this is the only way that it really can be read in the time of the end. Because remember, Remember, Daniel 12:4 said, Gabriel told Daniel to shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Well, it meant the very end. That's why it's only being understood in this very day and time. God bless you, folks, and pray that you got something out of this. And I'll see you on the next video. Please stay tuned for part 4 of the chapters switched in Daniel and why it's so important to use this while studying the end times prophecies. God bless you all.